The past actions and statements of many Hollywood celebrities have faced scrutiny, uncovering surprising examples of prejudice and discrimination. While some stars now champion equality, their historical behavior and remarks often reveal a more complex and unsettling narrative that might catch fans off guard. Starting with number 20, Walt Disney. What was the true magical kingdom like behind Disney's friendly public image? As the visionary behind Mickey Mouse and countless animated classics, Walt Disney built an entertainment empire that continues to shape global culture. But what was it really like to work at his studio? Accounts from former employees vary widely. While some commend his leadership, others, such as animator Bill Melendez, offer a more nuanced perspective on Disney's attitudes and biases. His professional association with Nazi propagandist Leni Riefenstahl and documented discriminatory hiring practices have sparked significant controversy. A 1938 company letter explicitly rejecting women for creative roles underscored the gender discrimination of the era. Additionally, several Disney films from this period featured racist stereotypes and imagery, most notably in Dumbo and Song of the South. The studio did not hire its first black animator, Floyd Norman, until 1957. Number 19. John Wayne. How did America's iconic cowboy star voice views that stunned many of his fans? Towering at 6'5", John Wayne embodied American rugged individualism for countless moviegoers. His portrayal of Rooster Cogburn in True Grit earned him an Academy Award in 1970. However, a candid 1971 Playboy interview revealed opinions that clashed sharply with his larger-than-life heroic image. The actor, famously known as the Duke, made overtly racist comments endorsing white supremacy and expressed deeply biased views towards Native Americans. His stances on civil rights, land rights, and social justice sharply contradicted the era's advancing civil rights movement. At the 1973 Academy Awards, when Sacheen Littlefeather declined Marlon Brando's Oscar in protest of the Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans, security reportedly had to intervene to stop Wayne from confronting her. While these controversies had little impact on his career during his lifetime, they have fueled ongoing debates about his legacy, including recent discussions about removing his name from Orange County's airport. Number 18. James Stewart. America's favorite good guy hid a more troubling side. Jimmy Stewart, the Oscar-winning actor and decorated war hero, was celebrated for portraying wholesome characters that embodied kindness and integrity. Yet behind the scenes, his actions revealed unsettling aspects of his personality. His treatment of black actors, particularly during the production of his 1971 TV sitcom, highlighted significant racial prejudices. He insisted on replacing Hal Williams, a black actor cast as a police officer, and reportedly used racial slurs while filming The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Even his close friendship with Henry Fonda was strained by their political differences, leading to a physical altercation and an agreement to avoid discussing politics entirely. Number 17. Henry Ford. The creator of the assembly line and the $5 workday revolutionized American manufacturing, yet Henry Ford used his influence to promote anti-Semitic conspiracy theories through his new paper, The Dearborn Independent. His views garnered such prominence that they even earned praise from Adolf Hitler. While offering workers higher wages, Ford enforced strict control over their personal lives, deploying inspectors to ensure they adhered to his standards. His Americanization program compelled immigrants to abandon their cultural identities, and his factories upheld racial segregation. Ford's staunch anti-union stance led to violent clashes, most notably in the 1937 Battle of Overpass, where union organizers were brutally beaten. Number 16. Bing Crosby. What shadow lingered behind Bing Crosby's smooth voice and charming smile? While Crosby is fondly remembered for his timeless Christmas songs and films, there was a darker side to this entertainment legend. Born in 1903, he rose to fame during an era where troubling racial elements were often woven into popular entertainment. Despite forming a friendship with Louis Armstrong and supporting African-American artists, his career included at least 4 blackface performances. In the 1954 film White Christmas, Crosby performed Mandy, a song rooted in minstrel shows. Although he held genuine respect for artists like Armstrong, his casual use of racial slurs reflected the pervasive attitudes of his time. Like many of his peers, including Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland, Crosby engaged in practices that reinforce harmful stereotypes. Number 15. Don Imus. Many Hollywood stars began their career in radio, using it as a stepping stone for fame and successful opportunities. But what shocking comment ended a 30-year radio career in just a matter of days? Well, Don Imus learned this lesson the hard way. Before his downfall, he was a giant in radio. His show, Imus in the Morning, had been running successfully for 30 years, and he was known for pushing boundaries with his sharp humor. People even called him the good-natured racist because he frequently made controversial jokes but seemed to get away with it. But in 2007, everything changed. During his show, he made an offensive remark about the Rutgers women's basketball team, calling them nappy-headed hoes. This wasn't just another joke that would fade away. This time, people were truly outraged. Initially, NBC News and CBS Radio tried to contain the fallout with a 2-week suspension, likely hoping that this would be enough to smooth things over. However, civil rights leader Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson stepped in, leading campaigns demanding Imus' suspension. The pressure mounted until both networks had no choice but to fire him permanently. The speed of the fall was astonishing. One day he was a radio legend, and the next he was out of a job. But here's the twist. Imus wasn't done yet. Less than a year later, he somehow managed to get back on the radio with a new show on WABC. He brought in a new cast and attempted to make a fresh start, and he continued airing his shows until his death in 2019 at the age of 79. This story highlights how a single moment of racism can erase decades of success, but also demonstrate how some individuals can still find second chances in the entertainment industry. Number 14. Paula Deen. Before 2013, Paula Deen was America's beloved Southern cook on TV. People adored her warm smile, her butter-filled recipes, and her inviting personality. She had cookbook shows and restaurants, and everything seemed perfect, until it wasn't. The trouble began when Lisa T. Jackson, a manager at one of Deen's restaurants, filed a harassment lawsuit. During the court proceedings, Deen was required to answer questions under oath, and that's when things took a dramatic turn. She admitted to using racial slurs in the past and allowing racist jokes at her restaurants, but the real shock came when she revealed plans for a Southern-style plantation wedding for her brother. The wedding idea was inspired by a restaurant she had visited, where all the staff were black and dressed in white jackets and black bow ties. Like a scene straight from the Old South, when this came to light, people were appalled. It wasn't just about offensive words anymore, it exposed her views on race. Deen attempted to make amends by posting numerous apology videos on YouTube, saying things like, "The color of your skin, your religion, your sexual preference does not matter." But the public wasn't easily convinced. Many felt that her apologies were less about genuine understanding and more about trying to salvage her career after being caught. And if you think that was one of the worst comments on race, just wait until you hear this next one. Number 13. Anthony Kumia. What Times Square photo session led to the downfall of a radio shock jock? Sometimes, a single photo can ruin everything. Just ask Anthony Kumia. He was half of a popular radio duo, Opie and Anthony, and they have been making people laugh for almost 20 years. The show was thriving on Sirius XM, where they have been since 2004. Known for pushing boundaries and saying outrageous things, they typically knew where to draw the line. Then came the day in Times Square in 2014. Kumia, who enjoyed photography as a hobby, was taking pictures when, according to him, a woman accidentally walked into his frame. He claimed she got upset about being photographed and attacked him without warning, but what happened next was entirely his choice, and it was definitely the wrong one. Instead of handling the situation calmly, Kumia went on a racist tirade on Twitter. He called the woman a savage and began making derogatory comments about black people and violence. He likely thought his tweets would disappear into the internet abyss, but someone at Gawker saved them all. And this wasn't the first time that Kumia has been embroiled in controversy. The show had faced several issues before, but this time, his tweets were so blatantly racist that SiriusXM couldn't overlook them. They said his actions were wholly inconsistent with what SiriusXM represents. In other words, they couldn't allow someone with such an open racist view on their platform. They suspended him, ending a partnership that lasted a decade. Just like that, a few angry tweets wiped out years of success, and it shows how dangerous social media can be when you're angry and have a platform. One bad moment can destroy a career built over years. Number 12. Roseanne Barr. This is a story about how success can disappear in just 280 characters. In 2018, Roseanne Barr was at the peak of her career. Her show, Roseanne, had just made a comeback after more than 20 years off the air, and it was a hit. The return was huge. Roseanne brought in ABC's biggest ratings in over a decade, and everyone was excited to have her back. But then, late one night, Roseanne made a terrible decision. She went on Twitter and posted a racist comment about Valerie Jarrett, a former advisor to President Obama. She compared Jarrett, a woman of color, to a character from, get this, Planet of the Apes. The tweet was so appalling that people couldn't believe their eyes, and neither could I. ABC didn't hesitate for a second. Despite the show's success and plans for another season, they canceled it immediately. Just like that, hundreds of people lost their jobs because of one person's racist tweet. Roseanne tried to make amends, posting several apologies and blaming her actions on taking Ambien, a sleep medication. But then, she did something that made people question her sincerity. She lashed out at her co-workers Sarah Gilbert and Michael Fishman when they said her tweet was wrong. Number 11. Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly was a household name in television, so much so that NBC offered her a $69 million deal to join their team, but she already had a track record of making controversial comments about race. Remember when she claimed Santa Claus could only be white? That should have been a major red flag. In 2018, during the Halloween season, Kelly decided to discuss costumes on her show, Megyn Kelly Today. She had an all-white panel debating whether blackface was acceptable for costumes. Kelly seemed confused about why it would be offensive, saying, "What is racist? When I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing like a character." The backlash was immediate. People were stunned that someone on national TV didn't understand why blackface was offensive. It's important to remember that blackface has a painful and deeply racist history in America and was used to mock and demean black people. Kelly tried to make amends in two ways. First, she sent an email to NBC staff claiming she'd never been a PC type of person. Then she went on air the next day to apologize, and oddly received a standing ovation. But NBC had seen enough. They started by replacing her show with reruns, and soon after, they canceled it entirely. Number 10. Don Cherry. How did a single comment about a Veterans Day poppy lead to the downfall of an iconic hockey commentator career? It's fascinating how being a household name in Canada can give you the freedom to say just about anything for 40 years and still get away with it. That was Don Cherry. He was considered the grandfather of hockey commentary, famous for his flashy outfits and even louder opinions. People expected controversy for him, and it became part of his appeal. But in 2019, during a segment called Coach's Corner, Cherry went too far. He was discussing Remembrance Day, essentially the Canadian equivalent of Veterans Day, and the red poppies people wear to honor veterans. He pointed out that in Toronto, where there is a large immigrant population, he didn't see many people wearing poppies. Instead of simply encouraging everyone to wear poppies, he made a comment that deeply offended many. He said, "You people love our way of life, love our milk and honey. At least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies." The phrase, "you people," was clearly directed at new immigrants, and it struck a nerve. This wasn't Cherry's first time making controversial remarks. He had criticized Colin Kaepernick for kneeling during the national anthem, mocked European hockey players, and even protested immigrants taking jobs back in 1990. But this time, it was different. Sportsnet, his employer, decided that it was time for Cherry to go. They stated, "Sports bring people together. It unites us, not divide us." Number 9. Walter Brennan. A 3-time Academy Award winner celebrated for his charm and versatility, Walter Brennan won over audiences in numerous westerns and family comedies. From his beginnings in vaudeville to his success in radio and film, he seemed to be the perfect grandfather figure. However, beneath his folksy demeanor lay extreme political and racist beliefs. He was a staunch opponent of the civil rights movement, dismissing it as a communist scheme. His fears led him to construct a bunker at his home, preparing for what he believed would be a Soviet invasion. A member of the John Birch Society, he used the voice of his beloved character, Grandpa Imus, to promote controversial racist views. His reaction to the deaths of civil rights leaders revealed a troubling lack of empathy and exposed deep-rooted prejudices. Number 8. Taylor Selfridge. How did tweets from 2012 suddenly bring an end to a reality star's career in 2020? This story highlights how your old social media posts can come back to haunt you years later. Taylor Selfridge was thriving on MTV's Teen Mom OG, and it was even about to have her own special segment about becoming a mother. But then, something from her past resurfaced, tweets that she had posted in 2012 and 2013. And these weren't just any old tweets either. They were clearly racist, including one where she stated that she wouldn't greet black customers at work because they scared her. Now, here's the twist. MTV knew about these tweets already. They even featured another cast member, Cheyenne Floyd, confronting Selfridge about the tweets on the show. However, in 2020, as the Black Lives Matter movement gained more momentum, MTV knew that they had to take stronger action. They pulled Selfridge's special just before it was set to air and completely ended their relationship with her. The network stated that they strongly condemned systemic racism. Selfridge tried to cover up the situation by claiming it was her decision to leave. On Instagram, she posted that she no longer thought reality TV was right for her. She also criticized MTV, accusing them of having double standards regarding the behavior they allowed from different people. Number 7. Abby Lee Miller. So what led to a dance instructor's virtual show being cancelled before it even started? Here's a story about how trying to support a cause can backfire when your past actions don't align with your current message. Abby Lee Miller gained fame as the tough, no-nonsense dance teacher on Dance Moms for 8 seasons. She was so well known that Lifetime planned to give her a new show, Abby's Virtual Dance-Off. In 2020, during the Black Lives Matter protests, Miller did what many celebrities were doing. She posted a black square on Instagram to show her support. But this simple gesture brought back painful memories for her former dance students and their families. Adriana Smith, whose daughter Cameron had appeared on the show, couldn't stay quiet. She shared a painful story about how Miller once told her, "I knew you grew up in the hood with only a box of 8 crayons, but I grew up in the country club with a box of 64. Don't be stupid." This comment reflected how Miller had looked down on people based on their background and race. Lifetime took these allegations seriously. They not only canceled Miller's upcoming virtual show, but also severed all ties with her. It served as a powerful reminder that posting a black square doesn't erase years of racist behavior. Miller later apologized on Instagram, but for many it was too little, or perhaps too late. Maybe both. Number 6. Harley Sawyer. Sometimes your past catches up with you when you least expect it. Harley Sawyer seemed to have it all. He portrayed the superhero Ralph Dibny on The Flash for 3 seasons, and his career was thriving. Fans adored him, and everything was going well. Then someone dug up his old Twitter account. The tweets they uncovered were truly disturbing. In one, he made a joke about posting racist tweets, claiming that the only thing stopping him was that Al Sharpton would never stop complaining about me. There were other offensive remarks as well, and even though they were posted before he joined The Flash, they were still his words. When the tweets resurfaced, Sawyer attempted to apologize. He posted on Instagram, expressing regret and trying to explain that he had changed since those posts. But the CW, the network behind The Flash, had a strict policy. They do not tolerate any form of racist or discriminatory behavior. The network wasted no time. They announced that Sawyer would not return for season 7 of The Flash, and they issued a firm statement, emphasizing that they do not tolerate derogatory remarks that target any race, ethnicity, national origin, gender, or orientation. Number 5. Lea Michele. A tweet of support backfires so smoothly. This is a story about how support for Black Lives Matter led to someone's own history of racism being exposed. In May of 2020, Lea Michele, known for playing Rachel Berry on Glee, tweeted her shock and sadness over George Floyd's death, expressing her support for Black Lives Matter. But that tweet opened a door to her past that she probably wished had stayed closed. Samantha Ware, a fellow Glee cast member, saw Michelle's tweet and couldn't stay silent. Ware shared her experience of working with Michelle, and it wasn't a pleasant one. She said Michelle has made her first TV job a living hell, and has even made her so uncomfortable that she was scared to quote-unquote "S in my wig." There weren't just harsh words, there were racist microaggressions that left Ware questioning her place in Hollywood. Michelle tried to address the situation by apologizing, but her apology only made things worse. She claimed she didn't remember treating Ware that way, which angered people even more, as it showed that she didn't recognize the cruelty of her actions. The fallout was swift. HelloFresh, the meal delivery service Michelle had been promoting, immediately severed their partnership with her. They made it clear that they do not condone racism nor discrimination of any kind. Number 4. John Mayer. Have you ever wondered how a single interview could damage a celebrity's reputation? Or how attempts at edgy humor can reveal a deep-rooted racial bias? In March, John Mayer was already well known and a talented guitarist and occasionally a controversial figure in pop culture. But no one could have predicted the backlash that would follow. His Playboy magazine interview. So what exactly made his comments so problematic though? Well, during the interview, Mayer was asked whether African American women were attracted to him. His response? Well, that's when things went terribly wrong. Instead of giving a simple answer, he launched into a series of racially charged remarks, comparing his dating preferences to white supremacy and making harsh comments about specific black actresses. The most troubling part? Mayer seemed to think that he could excuse his comments by presenting them as quote-unquote humor. He even claimed that black people loved him, as if that somehow made the offensive remarks more acceptable. Race relations expert Richard T. Ford put it well when he compared Mayer's failed attempts at edgy humor to Sarah Silverman's more skillful use of racial sarcasm. While Silverman is able to both be humorous and thought-provoking, Mayer's comments just came off as offensive and unoriginal. Perhaps the most truthful thing Mayer said in the entire interview was his own admission, "I think the world would be better if I stopped doing interviews." In light of the conversation that followed, this may have been his most accurate statement. Number 3. Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton, the hotel heiress turned media personality, has recently revealed a darker side of her past in her memoir, Paris, the Memoir. While she's widely known for popularizing catchphrases like, "That's hot," there's a more complex and painful story underneath. Before she became a household name, young Paris was sent to the Provo Canyon School, a psychiatric youth facility. Behind its walls, she claimed to have suffered sexual abuse and grooming, leaving her with lasting emotional scars. In her memoir, Hilton confronts her past use of offensive language, including racist and homophobic slurs. She connects these actions to her PTSD from Provo and struggles with alcohol. However, what's particularly striking is her refusal to use these factors as mere excuses. "Sometimes I was just wasted and being an effing moron," she admits, acknowledging that while her trauma affected her filter, her behavior while intoxicated was still her own responsibility. Number 2. Justin Bieber. What drives a teenage superstar to make racist jokes, and how does it come back to haunt them years later? The journey from child star to controversial artist is one that we've seen unfold time and time again. Justin Bieber, who skyrocketed to fame as a sweet 13-year-old YouTube sensation, found himself in a troubling scandal when the Sun newspaper uncovered a shocking video from 2011. In the footage, a young Bieber is seen lounging in a chair with his friends, but what follows took his millions of fans by surprise. The singer cracks a racist joke targeting black people, repeatedly using the N-word accompanied by chainsaw sounds. Even more revealing are the voices in the background trying to intervene, suggesting an awareness of this behavior was deeply inappropriate. The timing could not have been worse for the star. The video surfaced during an already tumultuous period in Bieber's life. He was dealing with multiple legal issues, including a DUI charge in Florida, an assault case in Toronto involving a limousine driver, and an investigation into vandalism incident where he had allegedly egged his neighbor's house. Some of Bieber's associates reportedly suggested he could have used the word motorcycle instead, a detail that highlights how those around him understood the inappropriateness of his words, yet seemed more focused on minimizing the fallout rather than confronting the issue directly. Number 1. Donald Trump. How did one of America's most controversial presidents find himself repeatedly at the heart of racism accusations? During a presidential debate in a dimly lit auditorium, a moment occurred that would be symbolic of years of racial controversy. "I am the least racist person," Donald Trump declared. "I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience." Now, you might wonder what prompted such a defensive statement. Well, let's rewind to the beginning. The story traces back to a fateful escalator ride that would forever alter American politics. In 2015, Trump kicked off his presidential campaign by descending the golden escalator in Trump Tower. During his announcement speech, he made contentious remarks about Mexican immigrants, setting the tone for his presidency. But this was only the start. What followed was a series of actions and policies that critics viewed as racially biased, including the controversial Muslim ban, a response to the Charlottesville rally where he called very fine people on both sides, and his infamous remark about the Proud Boys, telling them to stand back and stand by. His communication style was often described as a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn, meaning that while his words might seem innocent on the surface, many interpret them as carrying coded racist undertones. Despite being the least racist person, Trump's presidency was defined by policies and comments that many saw as exacerbating racial tensions. From his "S-whole country" remarks to his criticism of Black Lives Matter protesters, his words and actions sparked ongoing debates about racism in American politics. Critics argued that he poured fuel on every single racist fire. And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed our video, hit that like button and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated on all of our latest content. Take care.